I didn't flinch when he said it. Standing at the altar beneath a canopy of white roses, my son smiled that practiced, charming smile and leaned into the microphone. I've always hated our last name. I'm ashamed to be his son. Laughter rippled through the crowd. The guests thought it was a joke, a bit of awkward humor before vows. My ex laughed the loudest, but every syllable dripped with venom. He meant it. I stood there, hands clasped, silent. That's what I'd become good at, silence. He was my only child. My pride had once worn his name. I'd built everything for him, the company, the home, the reputation, the legacy. When his mother left, I told myself I would raise him better, stronger, truer. He was 12 when I handed him his first wrench, 15 when he closed his first small deal, 20 when he started calling me by my first name. By 30 he'd stopped coming home. He said I was outdated, controlling. He scrubbed our last name off his profiles and replaced it with his mother's maiden name. He said it sounded cleaner. Standing there in front of 300 people, hearing him call our name shameful, that was different. It echoed. It wasn't the word ashamed that tightened my jaw. It was what that word betrayed, the history behind the name. The men who carried it before me, my father, my grandfathers, worked with calloused hands, built things from nothing. He had no idea what that name was worth. Not yet. 3 days later the will arrived. My father had died months before, quietly as he preferred. His estate took time to settle. I hadn't told anyone, not my son, not the crowd that cheered for him at the altar. The lawyer's voice over the phone was calm and rehearsed. You've inherited $10 million, Mr. Houghton. 10 million felt unreal, but the money wasn't the victory. The timing was. His wedding had lit the match. The inheritance poured the gasoline. I didn't confront him in front of the guests. I began adjusting things quietly. Trust funds I'd once set aside and his name dissolved. Company shares I promised him were redirected. The house where he lived, bought under my firm's umbrella, was sold quietly to an anonymous buyer. He didn't notice. He was busy posting honeymoon photos and motivational threads about carving your own path. I watched. I waited. The Houghton name had always been more than pride. It was property. Trademarks, foundations, and manufacturing lines bore it. When he rebranded his fledgling startup Houghton Innovations, thinking he was reclaiming independence, I let him. He printed business cards and hung a glowing sign above his office. Then I sent the cease and desist. He called, furious and incredulous. Dad, you can't do this. His voice cracked with disbelief. You said you were ashamed of it. I said, if it was a joke, laugh. I hung up. The lawsuit moved fast and without mercy. My attorneys tore into his company with a clinical efficiency that left no soft edges. Brand use frouncing, client contracts revoked, investors spooked. He tried to fight, but you can't when using a name you publicly rejected. At the same time, I made a quiet donation to the charity he mocked, a scholarship in our family name and in his. By the time the press ran the story, Houghton Innovations was collapsing and the Houghton Foundation was trending for generosity. He hadn't seen that coming. 2 weeks later, he stood on my doorstep, rain soaking his suit, looking smaller somehow, folded inward by the years. You ruined me, he said. You don't get to. No, I said. You did that when you forgot who you were. He looked past me into the house. He grew up in the laughter that used to fill those halls. The nights he clung to my hand when thunder scared him. For a moment, I almost felt sorry. Almost. Why? He whispered. Why would you do this? Because I gave you everything, I answered, and you turned it into a performance. He left without another word. Later, in my study, I opened the family ledger. The pages smelled of dust and ink and hard work. James Houghton, Peter Houghton, John Houghton, generations of men who built something from nothing. I wrote one more name beneath theirs, David Houghton, the last one to forget. I closed the book. The fallout was quiet but complete. His marriage frayed under financial strain. The house was repossessed. Investors sued for misrepresentation. The same people who laughed at his wedding now whispered behind his back. I didn't need fireworks. I let his words age into consequence. When the final legal papers transferred my father's estate fully into my name. I Saturday at the same desk where my son had once done homework. The light fell across the mahogany. $10 million, a lifetime of work, and a name worth far more than both. People imagine revenge as anger. It isn't. It's balance. He took pride. I took everything else. A month later, I received a handwritten note, the sort nobody writes anymore. Dad, it began. I was wrong about everything. No apology beyond that. Just those words. I didn't reply. Forgiveness, like inheritance, must be earned. I folded the letter and placed it in the ledger beside his name, not as reconciliation, but as a record. Blood gives a name. Character keeps it. When I locked the book away, I found only peace. The silence he once mocked had become my sharpest instrument. Sometimes the loudest revenge is the one you never need to speak.